Today it feels like we're going back to the classic original series with this particular stories, but we're not. It's Doctor Who Sunday. Hello and welcome back to Chat About It, Don't Shout About It with me. What's happening, Doctor?
Change, my dear.
Please let me know of any constructive feedback in the comment section below for the new basic editing style for this particular series, as I am testing out just still images today, unlike last week's test where I did a mix of moving and still. And obviously please do let me know what you think of today's story as well. Please do keep it friendly in the chat with each other. Today I am reviewing Into the Dalek, which is a Peter Capaldi story. It was written by Phil Ford and Stephen Moffat. It was the second episode of the first series for Peter Capaldi. The story starts off with a bit of action. Soldier Journey Blue is under attack on her ship by the Daleks. She is stuck beyond help until the Doctor saves her inside his TARDIS. At her request, he takes her back to her ship where she meets with her commander. Her uncle, Commander Blue, is going to have the Doctor executed, but then changes his mind upon learning that he is a doctor. He decides to ask the Doctor to repair the Dalek. Immediately faced with a conundrum of is he a good person or not, he goes to find Clara to help him. He and a team go into the Dalek. They have to find the source of the injury to the Dalek casing. However, Ross is instructed to shoot a link so that they can get access to the Dalek. They are then attacked by antibodies and Ross dies. Eventually, they find the source of the damage to the Dalek and the Doctor repairs it as requested. The Dalek has its evil thoughts restored and it goes on a rampage. Can the Doctor and his companions restore the good memories to the Dalek and survive? Overall, the review will be not that long today because the focus is going to be on certain aspects of the story, and I like to sing its praises. One thing that I would like to say about this one is that I always forget this is very early in the run for Capaldi. Capaldi already seems to be getting acquainted with the Doctor in the character development, or he just really understood the show. Given how we know he was a massive fan of it growing up, it's safe to say that he really just understands it. I've heard other former Doctors talk avidly about their memories of the show. There's even a clip on YouTube somewhere where Graham Norton shows the world a letter that Peter had written to the BBC as a child about Doctor Who. It says a lot. Peter seems to be able to take the role of the Doctor in this with ease. This is probably why I forget that it comes so early on in his run for him. I think he truly plays the role of the conflicted Doctor in this extremely well and with ease. I don't know what order the stories were filmed in for this particular series, as it's common with a filming that you don't actually film in order. You tend to go with things like availability of people and the crew, and you work around everyone to make it work. He may have been playing the Doctor for a while at this particular point, but who knows? I wouldn't say that he is haphazard or anything like that. He has a certain abruptness with his portrayal that a lot of other Doctors have, and I felt like it was glossed over from time to time with his predecessor. I think that he brings the Doctor back to a more classic style of Doctor. The more early Doctors, maybe this is why people don't like him as much, plus the decision on making the Doctor older. Now, when they brought back the show in 2005, it was with more soap elements and the more unconventionally handsome style of the Doctor, something which was lifted from the movies with a Paul McGann, sorry, I had a mind block there. This is not a snob on Capaldi whatsoever. Moffat went down that route, choosing an older Doctor. Capaldi brings back the brash, brunt elements that we had lost. For me as a fan, now I personally don't mind this. For others who watched for good looks of the Doctor and the soap elements, it was probably a turn-off. There was a lot less of it in this run. I think that's a shame, really, because the more I watch Capaldi, the more I notice that he is a much better Doctor than David Tennant, and he, in the early days, had much more a gritty style storylines than Tennant did. Also, everything that was written in this particular story is very much with what I would expect from the Doctor. Would it be weird for me to say that the Doctor going to get the coffees for him and Clara and getting sidetracked so that he left her for 3 weeks be odd as well? Not in the slightest. I love it as a plot element in this story. It's a small one, but it's very much keeping in line with the Doctor. Would I have preferred it if Clara had been written out altogether? Absolutely, I would have preferred it, but pigs still haven't learnt to fly yet, so it was wishful thinking. The question is Clara good in this story? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Personally, for me, she is just a little bit less annoying. Was it necessary, though, really, to slap the Doctor across the face? Absolutely not. First of all, that sound effect was absolutely abysmal. It was too loud in the proportions of Jenna Coleman's hands. She herself is quite tiny, so that slap wouldn't have logistically sounded like that. And I also want to mention that the sound mixing in general is awful. Secondly, it wasn't justified. The only slap in the show that was ever justified, and no, I don't condone violence, okay, was when the 9th Doctor brings back Rose Tyler a year later by accident, and her mum, Jackie Tyler, has been searching for her that entire year, believing her daughter to be missing and then finding out that she'd just gone off with some random man. Yeah, that would warrant perhaps a slap or two. Clara just straight up smacks him across the face to make him come to his senses and realise that they were able to turn the Dalek into a good Dalek. However, what she fails to realise is that the Doctor is justified in his reasoning that a Dalek would never be good. Clara is a teacher, and she, of all the characters, should have the moral head turned on that bullies are not acceptable, violence is not acceptable, slapping people is not acceptable. Why is she the one to make the Doctor realise that the Dalek can be made into a good Dalek and the Doctor is so willing to go along with it? Surely that is something the Doctor could do by himself. Why does Clara always have agency in a lot of the stories? For most reviews, unless a correlation comes into my head, I stick to the here and now. However, it's something that I have picked up on. It's something that New Who, if we can even call it that now, does on a frequent basis. No longer does the companion have the wonderment that they should have, or a great deal of questions that the viewer needs. In many respects, with the perspective in this one, the viewer would see it more from the Doctor's point of view. There is no good Dalek. Clara is completely out of the viewer's perspective in this regard, and the Doctor has every right to be wary about the Dalek. First of all, they are dealing with Daleks, and all we see from the Daleks, ironically and unintentionally, my last review was a Dalek story as well, is death and as much destruction as they can possibly achieve. So yes, the Doctor has every right to be sceptical. Secondly, the story shows what Daleks can do. The writing at the beginning wastes no time in showing us the Daleks and what they can do. The opening sequence is quite extreme, and that set the tone. The tone is a good tone. Honestly, that sounds a bit lame, actually. But it is. The tone of it is dark and almost a little bit twisted. I like the concept of the Dalek being the Doctor's patient. It's that where he completely prompted to ask, is that what completely prompted him to ask with a heavy heart if he was a good person? What do you think the answer is to that? It is a complicated question after all. He is, of course, here to show us that he is the hero of the story. Does his morals line up with ours? I think his morals are different because he is an alien, and I think he leaves with good intentions. I think that he sees a lot of things not from a human perspective, obviously, because he is not human, but from an alien's perspective, an outsider's perspective, and he tries to go by what is right for where he is in time and space. I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever. Yes, death and destruction follows him around, but he does his absolute best to deal with any of the challenges that are sent his way. He realizes that Ross is about to die or going to die, and he appears to have very little empathy for the man as he made the most of it. However, he shows empathy to Gretchen, who chooses to die in order to help them achieve their goal. His conflict of helping a Dalek is one that he has every right to have and debate with himself over. Help the Dalek and all hell could be unleashed. To not help the Dalek would mean him a bad person. I think it makes him a hero who is very complicated, and that is a good thing, as a lot of heroes in entertainment are quite simple to work out. The concept of the Dalek is an intriguing one indeed. It's a concept that only truly works very briefly and for one story only. It's not a concept that I would make any effort to make a main part of the canon of the show. I do suppose though that from early days people would have questioned what exactly were the insides of a Dalek, and that is what makes this story particularly compelling. It's very much a story that would have been done during the classic era of Doctor Who. It's something that I would believe them to come up with. They have already designed the inside matter of the Dalek. Why not what's inside the Dalek casing? For back then, well, I suppose primarily that would have been a special effects issue, a monetary issue as well. In this day and age, that is no such longer the case. However, the idea of shrinking them down into in a nanoscaler and using the classic style shots where we look behind the head of the Dalek and the side of the Dalek is a good concept that would tie in very well with the original series, even with the attack of the antibodies. And I just want to say, poor Ross. He was only following orders after all. I suppose it was important for the story's resolution. I like the fact that the Doctor chooses to save the Dalek only to have the Dalek go back to the way it was. That was extremely important to show the audience, because it becomes the moment of how do they get out of the Dalek without dying and from being inside the Dalek. The simple answer is to restore the memories of the Dalek, the good ones. Is it too easy? I can't answer that. Should there have been more jeopardy inside the Dalek? Probably. However, it doesn't matter in this case. The most important thing is that we see what happens with the Doctor and the Dalek. I find it an interesting idea that the Doctor gets called a Dalek whilst being termed good. That shows really that to the viewer that the Dalek was never good. It was never going to be good. It shows that the Dalek perceives hatred as good. I think that also that you can be a bad person and believe that what you are doing is the right thing to do. So whilst the resolution resolves the current issue of the Daleks and they destroy each other, it doesn't really undo the fact that they are doing what they are designed to do. They still have hatred and they still take people's lives away because they believe what they are doing is absolutely the right thing. This is truly one of my favourite stories from the Peter Capaldi era. It has elements of the original series that shines through. And whilst Clara is as annoying as ever, well, maybe just a little bit less, the Doctor does shine in his moment of greatness towards the end. That's what I think. Please do let me know what you think. Chat about it, don't shout about it. Like, subscribe, switch on the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye bye. Thank you for watching today. Don't forget you can join me on my other platforms as well. I've got YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, X, TikTok, Instagram, Locals, Substack, and I also have a Discord. Everything is linked below.